Hello, 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 and welcome back to Revision, the podcast. Today I have a very, very special guest. I have Julie Dessureault, who is a photographer. She's a Kodak angel. She is the Kodak angel, which I've worked with last year for my complete brand pictures. So all the pictures that you see, I'd say 99.99% pictures that you see go by on my social media, for the podcast, for everything. She is the angel that was behind the camera. So I'm so happy to have her with me today to discuss life.
Wow. What a great introduction, Marie-Ève. I'm so happy to be here too and have the chance to chat with you.
Nice,
Yeah,
Julie.
yeah,
There's so much, there's so many like places that I wanted to go with you. And I think that we're just going to start by the beginning, which is why I hired you.
yeah, yeah. Let's start with that.
We'll start with that. I
Yeah.
hired you because I was actually in a very I was going to say critical, but it was just like a significant part of my life where I wanted to have something up level for my brand, for my personal
Mhm.
brand, but also like there was something about marking that early 40 years old with taking pictures. And I was talking to my friend Martin, and
Yeah.
Martin, who works with you. She's actually the stylist that helps your clients to prepare for their photo shoots.
Yeah.
And she told me about you, and we did something called there was also there was a contest. What was it again?
The contest?
Yeah,
Remind
there
me.
was. Yeah, I approached you at first for that
Oh,
because
yeah.
you were
Yeah,
looking
the
for,
collective, Rose
yes, the
Collective.
collective.
Yeah.
Exactly. The Pink Collective.
Yeah.
Um, and then, so she talked to me about you, and I went to see your pictures, and I went to
Mm.
see the work that you do, and I started to follow you on social media, and your vibe is just so amazing, and it was so aligned with me because you talk about the joyful body so much.
Yes. Yes.
And
The
I'd
happy
like you to
body.
explain, yes, I'd like to
Yeah.
explain what do you mean by the joyful body, the happy body?
Well, I'm a photographer for almost all my life. I started to do photo when I was like 14, 15, and I quickly realized how women were treating their bodies. And well, back to my history too, where I had so much struggle with food, with my weight and everything. So it became like natural for me to create something for the woman to have a safe space and to see their body as something different than just having to be a certain weight, a certain shape. And so that's why I created that philosophy where we realize that everything comes from within, and then it will maybe change the exterior. But if you only try to change your weight by eating less or doing more sports without doing the work inside, that's where it's very short term. Then you will go back to what you were before. So that's what I realized through the years, is that the work has to come from within. So it's multidimensional. So it can outgrow so much, but you have to do the work, and you have to think about it, and to get a coach to really do the work, and then it can appear from the outside. So it's my philosophy.
It's
Yeah,
yeah,
go
it's
for it.
interesting because we often, now we are kind of like conditioned, not kind of, we're conditioned into external validation. We
Yes,
look and then
I
we try to model whatever
model.
we're looking. We've been conditioned since we're children into what we, especially as women. But I think that the man has the gender, all
it
genders have
it's
their
different.
conditions. Yes,
Yes,
exactly.
for
And
what? Yeah, no,
for
no, just
women,
finish.
yeah. So for women, we have like, we think that we have to look a certain way, to be a certain way, to
Mhm.
talk a certain way, and not not go outside of that. And it creates a lot of limitation, not
Yes.
just in the way that we can express ourselves, but
Mhm.
also in the way that we kind of function, because we're meant to be, like you said, multidimensional. We have
Yes.
so many layers that we're
Mhm.
not expressing.
Yeah. Yeah, men have different struggles. It's more about like width of shoulders, their belly. But women, it's more like from our tell me the word in English, from the thighs, from the back, from the our
Our
breast. So
breasts.
we have different struggles, but in the end, women for sure we have more. Struggle with that, but it's everyone, we all struggle with that. And when you talked about external validation, like I was the one um, getting energy from that. It was
Mm.
a wrong kind of energy, but it for when I lost the first time, I lost 120 pounds when I was in my early 20s. And for the first time in my life, like I was getting recognition from men, from people. Everyone would tell me like, oh, you are so beautiful now. And it was many years ago, so of course society have changed about it, but it was the first time that I would get really like people looking at me. And for many months I strove, I
You
fly on,
surfed.
I
Yeah, you
surfed
surfed that
on it.
those qual
And
so for the listeners, I need to put you in context, because you just said
yeah,
120 pounds.
yeah,
So to put you in context, to put the listeners into context, you used to weigh a lot more than you do now, but
yeah.
you used to weigh over what was it, like 200,
It was
300 pounds?
260 pounds. It was my heaviest.
That
And
was your EVS. And
yes,
then so you had body, you were
image.
seeing your body in a certain way, and you
Yes,
wanted it to be another way, because you were trying to kind of like stick to whatever you were seeing
thinking.
outside. So
Yeah.
you lost all that weight. That was naturally at first, right?
It was not in a good way. I literally stopped eating, but I
Okay.
didn't have, it was natural in the sense that after a breakup, like I was married and it was my first love, and we separated for a while back then. So I stopped eating. I would eat half a slice of bread in the morning. It was like crazy. And I, even for many years, like I would vomit myself, and it was not in a good way, but at first you think that you will be loved, that your life will be perfect if you attain a certain weight, which I did, that my life would become amazing and I would be loved and I would be myself. I would not be shy anymore. And well, quickly I realized that it was not the case.
So you did lose the weight. You had
Yeah.
a I am air quoting here, a perfect weight in your mind.
Yes.
And you discovered that the issue was not the weight. The real
Oh,
issue was not the weight.
yeah.
The real issue was not in that external validation of, oh, how you actually look like right now.
Mhm.
You realized that within there was something that needed to be heard, that needed to be seen. That's
Yes.
what I'm understanding here.
Yeah, it's exactly that. I was not allowing myself at a certain weight. I was not allowing myself to be me in all my sides. I would be extremely shy. I would not talk about how I would really feel. So it was all, instead of letting my emotion out, I would eat more. I would just like and live in my little bubble of with my husband back then. So I was not living my fullest. And so after that, when I lost the weight, and then I realized, okay, I did not do it in a healthy way, and it doesn't give me anything better. So, but basically all my life, I lost a lot of weight. I gained it back. I lost it. So it kind of was my struggle until I realized that, okay, you need to do the work from within. You need to really go deep inside. And so for maybe 10 years, I saw a psychiatrist specialized in nutrition who helped me a
Hmm.
lot. So I slowly did the work, and it was, so it's my story basically. That's my story, my struggles. That now at almost 49, like I'm much better. It will never be perfect. I still fluctuate, well, which is, I think, normal, a small amount of weight, but I have much healthier relationship with food, with my emotion, with I go forward. I try to live to my fullest.
The I love this. The you're touching on a point, a lot of the freedom and the
Mhm.
liberation
Yes.
and the love that you were basically looking for all this time, that you thought was linked to, oh, when I, and we all do that, right? We all have like,
Yeah.
oh, when I get there to that
Yeah.
weight, to that when I get that certification, when I get all these external validation,
Mhm.
it's all counterfeit um goals to kind of like blind us to what is really going on inside. And often we get there, and first we don't get the satisfaction that we really are looking for, and we're realizing that the work is within, and it's doing the unsexy work. And then we sort of embark on a journey of fixing, like inside is broken. So we were trying to fix the outside, and then we try to fix the inside. And then we realize there's nothing about fixing.
No,
What was your biggest, what was the biggest aha moment in this whole process?
just the joy of being me and putting my limits slowly. When I start, like, it for me, it was about affirmation,
Ah.
telling things, telling how I am, how I see things, how my vision of life. About it was by small steps with everyone in my life, especially people I love the most. That's where I got. It was my most difficult thing, like telling things I would not like, or things that I would like to change with my significant other, with my mom and dad, with my friends. So for me, it started like that, small steps. And when I would realize, okay, I put my limits, I need to affirmate or do the affirmation of who I am, what I want. That's when I started to say, okay, wow, that makes a huge difference by how people treat me and how I treat myself. It's like self-respect. So I would say that
Mhm.
for me was one of the biggest aha moments, um, because you don't want to hurt people. And the way I'm built is like I have a lot of empathy, a lot of sensitivity. So it was I didn't want to hurt people. So it for me it was a struggle, but it's part of life. It's part of going through and make your life better. So I would say, yeah, the affirmation for me
That
was my,
affirmation,
yes,
putting your boundaries,
yes,
and I love that you say I'm an empathetic
yes,
person, and I have a lot of, and the hardest part when I accompany women is, especially when we do self-compassion
yes,
and we do the work, there's so much resistance. We have love for everybody else but ourselves.
yes,
We have compassion for everybody else but ourselves. We have respect for everybody else but ourselves. And the thing is, everything that is misaligned comes from that, comes from the fact that we're unwilling to have the hard conversations, to set our
yeah,
boundaries, to really embrace whoever we are in that love for the other people, to then love us for who we are
hmm,
as a bonus of
yes.
loving ourselves.
Ah, I
And
love the way
that,
you say it. It's exactly that.
and that, and what in meditation, guided meditation, I always like, I get resistance. The women are like,
Mhm.
I can't like talk. So you kind of like, you even have to bypass that. Okay, like, let's say you're thinking about a friend that is in your situation. What would you tell that friend? And then tell that to yourself, right? Like all these little steps that we're kind of like bring back. So by doing the work towards like ourselves, sometimes we have to leverage those exterior conditioning to come back to us and to come back to us and really to repeat and to repeat and to change that conversation that we have in our head. We're like, at the first time it doesn't work, and then we're like, oh, I actually failed again, and then we have that I call it the tyrant. I actually started to talk last month. I actually did a Alice in Wonderland, and I started to talk about the Red Queen, and that's the Red Queen that we have in our head. That is, like off with their heads, and you're worthless, and like all of that self-discord, and having somebody that can really like guide us back as we build our self-coaching, because that's what I heard, right? You build your self-coaching abilities to bring yourself back, but you went and you got some support with a therapist for a long period of time.
Yes.
To work through. So you had food
addiction,
food addiction.
Yes, and basically it was a way for me to control myself, or not. So it's instead of being able to set boundaries around me, like I would say, okay, well, that was my way, and food was such a comfort. I grew up in a family where the house that everyone wanted to go was my house. So I grew up with a full of people having dinner all the time. It was like always not the party, but always like fun, and but it was always related to food. So for me, it was like an association of and I think for a lot of people too, it's such a strong bond that you create with food, that it was my safe haven. I would go back there.
Well, there's an emotional family bond that we get through food. Plus, there's also the built-in mechanism that we have in our body, like biology is against us for that. So we have like two like different types of ways that is kind of like against the natural way to weave yourself into self-love. Now, what I actually wanted us to move into, because I think it's really interesting. So family with boundaries that we needed to set. There was a lot of like food is love, food is reward, food is my safe haven, my comfort,
Yes.
And then one day you lose all this weight, and then you serve that external validation for a period of time.
Yes.
And then at some point you realize that wasn't it, and you needed to go back inside.
It was.
And then what happened afterwards?
Yeah, it was like sweet and sour. So you start to feeling weird about it. It was not fun at all. Like, you get like people would look at you, tell you that you are beautiful, but you know that inside it's not about it. So it was a lot back then that I started to hire a therapist, and for a long period I saw her. She helped me like stop making vomiting myself, having like just like a healthier relationship with food. And it was I think it was 2018 that I started my coaching class. NLP, yes.
Yeah.
So it was
neuro-linguistic reprogramming. Yes. Okay.
Yes. So it was much later, but it was like after like photographing hundreds and hundreds of women and hearing what they would share with me, because they are it's vulnerable to be in front of the camera. So me, from a young age, I always saw beauty in others, saw qualities, saw strength, saw like. But for me, I would not see it. But I would realize that my own client would not see themselves the way I would see them. So it was like all that comprehension of it, and I was like, okay, I need other skills for myself and for my client, because okay, we cannot just hide ourselves and not live to the fullest because everything is not perfect. No, it doesn't work like that. No, I wanted to, can we say emancipate myself and
Yeah.
helping my client to do that. So with NLP, with all the coaching I did, helped me to where I am at now, and helping my client more also when they live a struggle. When when you talked about resistance, I have a lot of that too in my session, in my photo session, where a client would start crying and say, "Who am I to pay my to invest in myself like that? To think I'm so pretty to having photograph to put my photograph in the first page of my book." Like I'm thinking about a client that she's a writer. She has published her first book, and she had like a meltdown before starting the photos because she was like, "Who am I?" Like so that's where I was able to sit with her, talk to her, and discuss, and just let that big rock go away. And then we did the photo session, and it went amazingly good. But I have a lot of that, and I'm sure you have it in other ways in when you coach women. But it's all the same thing, as it.
We all it's yeah, and that's why I think that these conversations are so important, because we think that we are alone in our own world, and we even know on some level that we're not, but we don't get into spaces where we can share those vulnerabilities because we hide them, because they're like our heel, Achilles heel, and we think that that it should be hidden from the world. And then we get into a relationship, and this is I'm going to talk about my experience
Yes.
with you. First of all, that was my second photo shoot like ever. I've never really like I don't mind taking pictures, and it was my second photo shoot. I had a photo shoot beforehand, 2-3 years beforehand, for with my husband for our business that we had back then. And but with you it was different, because there was a level of like showing different aspects of myself, and through the branding, and it wasn't just you behind the camera trying to find the best angle, the best lighting, the best, like, you see something beyond
Mm-hmm.
the visual in your camera, in the relationship that are with people. And it's interesting, because a lot of people, like, sometimes I'm with people and they say, "Oh, did you see that, or did you and I always say, I don't know, I didn't see that.
Yeah.
I see energy. I
Yeah.
see the energy of people, how they
Oh
are,
my God.
like, coming in." And when I got into so you're in Quebec City, in Quebec.
Yes.
I live in Alpesbach in south of Germany. And I chose you, and I was going to Montreal for 3 weeks. And then I went for 4 or 5 days in Quebec to do the photo shoot. So it was a lot of like going back, and I had my 10 different themes of
Yeah.
clothing and accessories. So it was a project.
Yeah, even you, when you first arrived to the shooting place, you almost had like few tears of drop of tears, because it was like it can become overwhelming at some point, because you know that it's like a big transition, that something will happen. So, and then you put so much work into it, but you realize after that the work that you did previously, all the meetings with the stylist, the meeting with me, the preparation, and then you had to flew and do 3 hours of cars from Montreal to
All the
Quebec,
traveling.
like all the traveling, like it was. But I was so honored, Marie-Ève, to have you in front of my lens, and it was such a great moment, a deep moment. And you exactly say it right. It's when you see the person as she's truly is, without all the layers. So you see the essence, you see who she is, and it's not about the size of the nose, the weight, it's not about that. It's about who you are, what are your strengths, and what message you have to say to the world. How do you want to contribute? And then it becomes so much lighter, and then we go into that creation phase where we are connected to each other, and then we create, and that's where it becomes amazing for me.
and for me as well, I mean, like, we ended up in sand pits
Yeah.
crying
Oh my
because
God.
it was
Yes,
such an amazing moment,
I
right? Like,
remember.
so all these blocks that we put, and it's not because I'm not comfortable, like, it's just it is exposing yourself
Mhm.
in vulnerability and standing in it. And I cannot stress, like, I want to do a little parenthesis here, because I cannot stress how much the biggest resistance that we have is linked to hiding our vulnerabilities. And as soon as we understand that our power is when we stand in that vulnerability, there's no stopping us.
Mhm.
Because before, we're hiding, all our energy goes to hiding.
Yeah.
And when we expose and we say, this is who I am fully,
Mhm.
and I'm not saying it's easy, but this is who I am, and you do it step by step, there's there's nothing that you become untouchable, you become unshakable.
Mhm.
And you did exactly that last year. You published, I'm going to use it for the podcast, I don't know how much of but I need to share this picture. It was one of the it's actually probably the number one picture I've seen that took my breath away.
Mm.
Literally took my breath away. And you had to build up until showing that picture and talking about what you have been through, because you needed to make peace with something. You need to make peace with the fact that at some point you knew that the external validation was not it, that the work was in, but you went back to kind of align the exterior with the interior. Do you want to talk about this? I'd like to talk about
Oh
this.
yes. It was such a big process because it was right after separating from a 10 years relationship, from moving to Montreal to Quebec, moving my business. 16 years I did business
Oh
in
my
Montreal. And then I was like, okay, there's something missing with my alignment. And so I decided, even though I had a lot of préjugés, I had a lot of
Prejudice?
prejudice against plastic surgery. So it was like a
Mm-hmm.
process of also for me, like accepting, okay, I think I might go to that direction. And like starting to do my research, starting to do, to know where I was going to do it. So it was a big process, and I'm so glad I did it. But it was in two times I went to Turkey for that, and so it's 6 weeks. It's something, you know. It's I would not recommend this to everyone necessarily, but I was like when I would do sports, I was having a lot of extra skin, because what happened when you lose a lot of weight is, and you don't necessarily realize it the first time, is that okay, you lose all the weight but you keep most of the skin, so then you
Mm.
have saggy skin. So when I would do the running, I would do sports, it would be very uncomfortable. So one part of it was actually for the aesthetic of it, but most of it was about feeling comfortable in my body. So
So, because you did after you lost all the weight, you gained some weight. So you did a lot of yogaing, and at some point in your journey, you decided to have the sleeve. So, it's not a is it called a gastric bypass, or
it's the sleeve.
it's a type of.
It's only the stomach that you cut one part of the stomach, so there's no link with the intestine. The gastric bypass is much more difficult for the body, for the vitamins after, and
Mhm.
my extra weight was not that much that it would that I would need that. Because if we go, I had my gastric sleeve in 2015. Back then I was trying to get pregnant, so it all went fast for that. So then I lost maybe around 70-80 pounds back then, the last time I yo-yo, if I can say. After that it went really stable, and I did continue all the suggestions from the doctors. I still eat 3-4 small meals a day, even now. So it will be like almost 10 years soon. But when you lose weight at 40 years old, it's not the same thing that when you lose weight at 20. So
No,
That's
because your skin is not the same, the
yeah.
collagen is not the same. So you had, and I love, I think that it wasn't your boyfriend at the time, but you kind of like had a relationship still, a good friendship relationship. And then I think there was something about calling your extra skin like your wings.
Yeah, my wings, so I would be able to fly, and we would make joke about it. It was really like, okay, that's something that is part of me. So for maybe 7 years, I lived with that extra skin, and it was at one point, yeah, after I moved to Quebec, then I realized, okay, I think I'm ready for like to finish that process, to make a closure about it. And it was either living with the extra skin, and now I live with the scars. So it's,
Mhm.
you lose something for something else, huh? It's like everything in life. Nothing is perfect. So now we sometimes I make joke about it. Like I have scars on my arms, on my belly, on the inside of my thighs.
Oh, your
My,
thighs.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But like it's there are scars, but you like that picture, you
Mhm.
wore those scars so
Yes.
proudly and so like I may we all wear our scars like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
All of us, each one of us, the ones that people see and the ones that people don't see, may we wear them like that because it is really something so freeing, so
Yes.
liberating to do.
Yes. Everyone was so used to seeing me like soft, bubbly, like friendly, like my archetype, like the way I look. It's like it's not. It's kind. It's nice. It's naive. It's innocent. You know. It's. But that picture, I went to something that was not hidden inside me, but that was there. It was my strength, my everything. I made choice in my life that was like out of the
The
society, the
norms?
norm. You
Yes.
know, I
Yes.
but in everything is that picture is saying, okay, I'm vulnerable. I did this, but this is who I am in all my strength. I was not laughing. I was having my serious face, and that's what I think makes it so powerful.
It does. It is. It is, and it's
Mm.
part of the process because we see right now that your brand is changing.
Yes,
There's a little bit less of that. There's still a lot of kindness, but there's less of that niceness. You know,
yes,
being the nice girl,
yes.
we can be kind. Kind and being nice is not the same thing.
Hmm.
And there's still a lot of that kindness that is laced and the compassion, but there's less and less of that um, softer, innocent side that you're
Exactly.
working on. That's what I see, right?
It's not who I am anymore. It's there, but it's not about that. Now I'm working my leadership, my influence. I have things to say. I wanna, like, I have created that the branding, the personal branding, coaching. Like I'm going somewhere, and the kindness will always be part of me. But I'm somewhere else now. It's all that work that I did, all that limits,
The
like the
boundaries,
boundaries, that the affirmation. So now I'm somewhere else, and that's why my branding needed to be changed. The soft pink was not the main color anymore, so I went deeper, I went less feminine, but it's still me. It's me in all my sides, but it like we have grown, we evolue, we transform,
we evolve.
we
We evolve.
evolve.
What I love about because a lot of our conception of growth and evolution and personal development, we tend to see it linear in the sense that whatever we're letting go is not there anymore.
Mm.
And then because we think that, when it shows up again, we're like, hey, I thought that you were gone, you know, like that part of it. But it's not about that. I always picture like a mixing board where, or it can be like even like when you're touching, you know, pictures or colors, like we're playing with different parts. We're dimming down a little bit this, and we're amplifying that, and it makes that all these parts of ourselves, the multi dimensions of ourselves, are still out there. We're just adding more to
Mhm.
what we have. We're growing in that sense. We're expanding in that sense, not by it's not taking out trash. It's
Yes.
part of the strength that you have today, right?
Yes, exactly. It's not linear. It comes back, but in a different way, and sometimes not as strong either. But it would be foolish to think, okay, I'm done with that, and I will never have to face it again. But no, life really brings you what you need at the time that you need. So it's part of
Or you
the
catch yourself.
yes,
You catch yourself faster.
yes,
You get out
exactly.
of the spirals much faster. You know, like it doesn't have the impact that you have. So doing the work
Hmm.
is really bringing us there.
Yes.
Now, so we've heard a lot of your relationship with food that
Hmm.
has been transformed.
Yes.
We heard your transformation within and your transformation out,
Hmm.
bringing those two together. You moved a business from one city to the other. Like these are all big changes, big re-envisioning of what our life next step is going to be. And through all of that, in last year when we were working together, you you actually were going to another change,
Hmm.
another impending change that we all have to go through at some point in our life, which is our parents getting
Yes.
older.
Yes.
You mentioned that you were 49, so our parents get older, and they sometimes they get sick, sometimes they leave us suddenly for a different reason. But you, in your case, you were accompanying your mother
Yeah.
through the end of life. So she was actually sick, and I remember we were sending each other messages about that.
Hmm.
And one of the things that you mentioned was that you realized that you were not ready for her to leave, and you had to change the lens and do some sort of work towards that so you are better prepared.
Hmm.
I'd like you to talk about this because I know that I know that I'm right smack in the middle of this right now. Like 14 years, my mother passed away 14 years ago this month, and I remember like I knew that it was coming, but like we're not prepared. I was younger, but it doesn't matter. Like it doesn't matter what age you are. It doesn't. Your parents when they're going through difficult times and when you know that it's the end of life, it's difficult. How did you?
That too. Oh my God, I'm emotional just thinking about it because for so many years, my mom has been sick for almost, I think, more than 15 years. And few times she almost left us. Like doctors would prepare us and like many events through those 15 years. But she would always fight back and she was not ready. And then we would have her for a few more years. But she was still in like always in a lot of pain. And I always said like I would not be able to my mom leaving us. Like I cannot go through it. And it was really last year when her health was deteriorating, and I would really like to learn like how to le deuil. How do you say it in English?
The grief,
The
the
grief,
grieving
like the
process, the
grieving
grief.
process. That's what I focused in the last year before. Then she would go to hospital many times a year, and then we would be facing that. So it was all a process to say, okay, it's coming. Like you like it or not, you think you're ready or not, it's coming. So I did a lot of learning about grief and how to deal with it and all the small grief of life too. Uh, Life is
Mm-hmm.
about grief, but you think about the big one. But then when you start learning about it and do like a class about it for a formation, then you realize, okay, everything about life is grief, is letting go. So and at one point, I remember in last October, she was in hospital, and I went to a big event, and we talked about facing our fears, our biggest fears. And I say, okay, I'm there. Like this is my next phase for me. And then I'm say, okay, I'm ready. Whenever she will be ready, I'll be there, and I will be able to go through it. So then we had a lot of discussion, which we didn't have much with my dad and my mom, because my dad was not able to talk about it at all. It would explode of crying. So at some point, we sat all together at the table, and I talked about it. Okay, so how you want things to be after, like all the details, preparing things, like I'm supposed to take care of things, but I don't know what they are, so we need to talk about it. And then what was amazing with my mom is that it was not sudden. So we had time to spend, we spent time with her, we talked to her. Family member came from Abitibi because that's where I'm from. My brother had time to come, my aunt, cousin, people that my mom would love so much. And she had time to say bye to everyone before leaving. So, and I was there and I was close. I was in Quebec. That was one of my reasons to move back here, because my parents were here. My oldest friends were here. So the fact that I was...
Because you're originally from Quebec City.
I'm originally from Abitibi, but I was the first one to leave when I was 19. I came study in Quebec City, and then my parents, they fall in love with that city, and they sold everything and they move, and they were still in the same house. My parents, they were really stable people. So I moved back and forth, but one of my things I make peace with is that I was there and the hospital every day, talking to her, being there for her, trying to be there as much as I could for my dad too. And so I have a lot of peace inside me because of that. So it was November 12th. Then after saying bye to everyone, then the day after she died, and she was basically free of all her pain that she was having for so many years. So in a sense, when I think about her, I know that was the best thing. And now it's us, my brother, my dad, me, trying to slowly getting through it, but with the fact that she had a great life. She was well surrounded, and that we are there for each other, even if my brother is still in Abitibi. I just bought a duplex. My dad will live in one apartment. I will live in the other. So it's all great things that we are doing, in the sense to stay close and to do the best with the things that
With the
happen.
next step.
Yes.
With the next step.
Yes.
You mentioned something, because I always talk about the life cycles and the fact that, it's all about living and dying and living and like this eternal recycling, and the like nature is built on cycles, and
Yes.
we are in those society trying to like make everything even all the time, and we're really forgetting that connection to this rhythm, this life rhythm. And it's only when we are faced with like big events like that that we can choose that. Now you actually actively chose to get some help and support to get yourself through this, but it reflects it's reflected in the smaller little things in life.
Mm-hmm.
And when we decide to say, okay, like I'm gonna face my fear, what was your biggest fear about this whole thing? What was like the thing that you fear the most?
Your mom,
Do you remember?
it's so special, the relationship you have. Well, I will talk for myself. My relationship I had with my mom was so special. Like, she was there for me all the time. She would ask me about my small things in life. Every time I would go visit her, she was there. So for me, it's like imagining life without her. It was like, no, I will not be able to go through that pain of not having her. So, but then it's like, it's the normal cycle of life, that I was then when I go back to, I was so lucky to have her for so long, because so many times she almost died, and she gained strength back, and she continued her life. But at some point, and it's like, when you accept the pain, I think for me it's accepting that it will be difficult, accepting that it will make me feel uncomfortable, sad, not myself. So in the last few months, of course, I was not as much present on social media. I was sometimes I'm weirder. Sometimes I stop talking when I'm not, or weird things. But I know it's part of process, and this is how it is. Sometimes I have good days, but like, let's say this week, it was more difficult. I was missing her. It was my brother's birthday on Monday, and so I had a souvenir on Facebook, when they pop up
Oh, the memories,
the
the Facebook
memories.
memories.
And then when it pop ups family photos from last year with my brother for his birthday, so things like that, like puts me how much I miss her. But then it's like just breathing to it, accepting that, okay, today it's difficult and today I miss her, and then I still have one of her shirt in close to my bed, which I smell when I miss her so much. And it's just, I'm trying to remember the good moments. And so, yeah, for me, it's like breathing through the pain, and comfort, and accepting that it's like that.
I love that you said that, because so much of the suffering, it's going back to the same thing. So much of the suffering that we have is the resistance to the pain. We're trying to move past the pain. We're trying to skip the pain. We're trying to not feel the pain. But the thing is, the pain is there.
Mm-hmm.
And the more that we resist the pain, the more it multiplies, and the more that our suffering, like multifolds.
Yes.
And I remember, like, when my mom passed away, it created this void. Like, I think that, because you said I'm going to talk for me, they do take, like, I had an amazing relationship with my
Mm-hmm.
mom, and when she left, it was like, it wasn't just like that somebody left my life. There was a big part of me that was not there anymore. That was, I could feel it within. And when I was going through that, it felt, I have, with my science background, I understand a whole bunch of stuff on different levels, but I'm also a gardener, and she was a gardener. And I started to think about that void inside as like a temple, like this precious place where I could always connect with her, like, and carry her memory within, and decided what kind of garden I wanted to. It was like kind of like a secret temple kind of garden.
Mm-hmm.
And then as you do this, you kind of like start to grow life around, like, and that's what you're doing with your dad, like, and
Yeah.
and inviting him in. And that was something that I was asking people. I did a little I posted a little video on stories before we actually came together, but I remember I was asking questions to people, like, I was like, so there's like 5 different stages of grief, and how long did it take you? How long did your parents pass out? How long did you stay in each stages? Did it sequentially? Did you jump back and forth? And how much time like, I was trying to really be in my head and to control
Mm-hmm.
something that is not controllable. Like, you're trying to be in your head and to control something that is in your heart, that is in your emotion, in your body. And accepting is the end product of living in the present moment and bringing yourself back to the present moment,
Mm-hmm.
celebrating all the different memories and souvenirs, and welcoming. I think it's welcoming.
Yes.
Today is a good day, and tomorrow we'll see, and yesterday was something else. And if I only have to get through that next second, sometimes we're like, okay, like, I can't go through the week, or I can't go through the month. I actually was for a long time like, okay, let me just get through that second, this next second. And okay, that second, maybe I can make a minute. Oh no, today I can't not make a minute.
Yeah.
I'll do the second and the 2nd.
Mm-hmm.
And the compassion that we build through all of our different, the personal development, or through the self-coaching, really comes to play here.
Yeah.
Because
Even at first, like, I think for the first month, I didn't allow myself to have like any emotion. Like, I was frozen. Like, I think the pain was maybe too big. I'm not sure what happened, but for almost a month. And then someone contacted me on Messenger, and it's someone I know, but she's not a friend. She's not like, we saw each other sometimes. And she says, and she do canalization, like she
Yeah, to
received
channelize messages. Yes.
messages, and she says, Julie, I'm receiving message for you, but I'm not sure what they are, because she didn't even knew that my mom passed away.
Passed away.
And she says, someone is trying to contact you, but it's like everything, you have closed everything. And then I'm like, and she thought it was about a new project or something. But then I told her, like, well, my mom passed away like a month ago. And she says, okay, it makes sense now. Your mom is trying to give you support, give you energy, be there. So it was then I was like, okay, you can go through it. You need to feel everything. And then I opened up myself and slowly started to do the grief. And yeah, it's a little bit at the time, and I'm not as rational as you. I'm really like I'm
I was 28 years old and
yeah,
I was rational as hell.
I always like I'm more from the art. So it's like I like to live to the fullest my emotion. So it's like, okay, I'm ready to go into that path. It's part of it. I know I have to go through it in order to someday be able to remember the positive, and even though she's not there physically.
Okay, no, she's not there. She's not there physically.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, you know, like I said, like I was 28 years old and
Mm-hmm.
I was moving through my head because that was the
That,
control that I had, but
yeah.
I don't anymore at all. And
Mm-hmm.
if anybody has been working with me lately, they would be very much surprised of that, you know. But
Mm-hmm.
um, the opening up to whatever comes is so key, you know. And this year, I actually said for the first time, and I really truly believe that everybody should be lucky enough to lose somebody they love at a time that they needed them the most. It creates so much more crispness to our living,
Yes.
and it brings us, you know, it brings us back to I don't want to say priorities, because it's not about priorities. It brings us back to our true essence. You were
Mm-hmm.
talking about the true essence,
Yes.
the true essence of what we came here to do and to experience, and you know, cut through the crap that we sometimes get tangled in.
Yes. And I don't know if you feel it that way too, but I feel like my mom has given me something so strong inside of me. It's like, no, there's no other way. Like, it's like I'm like on a mission. Like, it's like strong inside. So that's why I'm able to do like all those changes I'm doing right now. It's because it's like that strength that it's like it's there, and I'm going. And so my mom was like that. She was like
My
that
mom was like that too.
stubborn woman that would fight for things, and she was amazing. Sometimes it would be like when you are in the opposite side would be difficult, but she had that strength. And now it's like I feel it inside, and no, there's no way that it's going to happen like this. No, I'm not quitting. There's no plan B. There's a path I'm going through, and I know she's helping me to go to that path. So that's one of the
It is. Yeah, it is. Well, the first episode of the podcast, if the listeners have not listened to it, it's called "She Gave Me Life
oh.
Twice," and I talk about that, and I
Mm.
talk about how she gave me life once, and she gave me life the second time when she passed
Oh
away.
my God.
And I really can relate to this. And I think that a lot of the listeners, if you've lost a parent, and if you are channeling your grief through building something and making this mean something for you and for others, then you're going to relate to this, to what you just said, Julie, you know, like. And it's interesting because it took me so much longer to get where you are, like in the clarity of things, you know, because obviously you're older and you
Yeah.
have more, like she actually set me on the personal development path, and you actually are much later in your on your path,
Mm-hmm.
like on your journey. I want to down the road, not later, but down the road. Yes, I love this. I actually, it's funny because as I was waiting for you, I was reading a book. I'm reading Conversation with God,
Oh yeah.
and I'm in the third book. And I started the conversation with God like a few months ago. And as I'm entering April and I'm talking about this new, because my branding is also evolving
Mm-hmm.
to support more people that are going through grief, and you know, pre, during, and after. And as I was moving into like voicing it, I actually moved into the third book, which talks about death. And this, while I was waiting for you, I actually got to this. So I'm gonna read it because this is just too good not to pass. Enlightenment begins with acceptance, without judgment of what is. This is known as moving into the isness. It is in the isness where freedom will be found. What you resist persists. What you look at disappears. That is, it ceases to have its illusory form. You see it for what it is, and what is can always be changed. It is only what is not that cannot be changed. Therefore, to change the isness, move into it. Do not resist it. Do not deny it. Julie, I am so grateful for this moment together. I am so grateful for your generosity of not just this hour, but like of your generosity of person, and for embracing a grand mission that you're only, like I see you, you're only at the beginning of. You're really only at the beginning of. And I thank you for everything.
Thank you to Marie-Ève. Thank you for the invitation, the great question. It's always a pleasure to be with you.
I love you. I see you. I feel you. Take care.
Thank you.